of the Toastmasters meeting, I think, is because it's the most productive. And that's when we all tell truths and critique and find out how we can help the other person or the people speaking how to become better speakers. And the way we do that is by two different ways. One of them is the general evaluator for each speech, and then the technicians that evaluate all the speeches, depending on what types of things that they're looking for. So right now, what we're going to do is evaluate the individual evaluations, and the first person that evaluated David Stevens is Aldo, and Aldo's not here, so it's Maya. So Maya, let's all give her a big hand.
All right.
For big expectations, let's see.
Evaluator. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and of course, David. I'm honored to evaluate David. This is his first speech, the icebreaker speech, and he did a phenomenal job. He did a really good job. I felt that he was very natural when he came here, and I already saw a little bit of the taste of how he delivers speeches, and he's been delivering, it seems very natural to you. It seems natural. Great delivery, very clear, great content, in a very short time for 4 to 6 minutes of speaking here. That's his criteria. He was able to put in a lot of meat in it. I think that we can take away a lot of things that we know a lot more than we did before about David. So we know about his passion about communication and being able to teach 1,000 high school. That's a high school student. That's not easy, right? But taking on that task, I definitely could see that you have a very strong leadership already. You have a very strong foundation on it. You use no notes, which is awesome. And he asked me to look for his hands movements and his gestures, and also his ahs. I didn't hear any ahs. And I was too taken by your speech. It was great. In terms of your hands, yes, I took a seminar about how to evaluate people, and the more evaluation that you do, the better speaker you'll be, right? Because that's how it goes hand in hand. And hands are definitely the hardest to handle. But I believe that if you can take Renee's kind of speech that he was using his hands, that would be something that you can probably incorporate. He is a DTM, and when I saw his third speaker, he was able to incorporate his hands with the stories. So if you can incorporate your hand gestures with incorporating with the stories, it becomes more natural. And also the takeaway is pause. You spoke kind of a little bit too fast. And I hear you and I digest it, but it was a little bit kind of for me to swallow everything. So a little bit pause. And you stopped at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. You had a lot of time. So I wanted to hear more about you, and I said, darn, it's only the green light. He had like another minute or so to emphasize about you. And that's the only takeaway I have. You have a great, bright future ahead of you. And congratulations on your first speech.
You guys get the most time, clapping time. There you go.
Heidi, I definitely want to say, for you to be an individual coming back to Toastmasters, I felt that you jumped right in and that you commanded your space in the room. One thing that I wanted to say is that I really liked your manner of comfortability. At first you seemed a little nervous and you wanted to rely on the notes, but I noticed as you started getting through the speech, you actually relaxed a little bit. And in my personal opinion, your notes are only there just to catch you when you stumble on something. But when you talk about something that's so passionate about what you've lived, we're able to feel that. And I had to be careful because I wanted to make sure that I was watching your body speaks. but I really wanted to hear what you had to say because you had a really good title of how optimism got me to be more active, which I think is really, really important. As far as your speech, I felt that you really knew your topic. I really do. I felt that in preparing for it, that you really wanted to focus on the key points of this speech, and that you wanted to make sure that you did step away from the podium, which is good, and I think you noticed that at times, so it was really good. What I would have liked for you to do was to really walk around. This is an active speech, and what you want to do is you actually want to command this energy with the audience because it's an active speech. So use your hands gestures, but not too much. I think that you were a little nervous, so therefore you're kind of keeping above your waist. You know, keep your hands to the side. I want you to move with a purpose, because when you just move around this way, we get lost in that. So if you want to talk about the race, I love how you just were talking about the race and left your friend behind. That captivated me. And that's what you want to do. You want to move with a purpose. You want people to feel in that moment what you're feeling. As far as eye contact, I felt that you were centered here in this area, and you kind of started moving this way, but it's important to also make sure that you engage your audiences and know how far they are, that you connect with each individual person, or at least 3 or 4 people that you could choose, and do a sweeping motion. But overall, I felt that you gave really good facial expressions. I could tell when you were talking about your friends, and you got excited and you laughed and you smiled, which also brightened up the speech, which is really great. Again, the energy was there. As far as the organization of your speech, I think it was really well. You had a good beginning, you had a good center body, and you had a good conclusion. And you were able to wrap it up with some key brownie points that we could take home with us. So in wrapping this up, I would like to say you did a really good job, especially coming back in and, you know, getting right in there. But just make sure that you take a little time, believe in yourself, and do not rely on your notes. Because when you're talking about something you're passionate about and you've experienced it, people are going to feel it. And you don't even have to worry about your notes. So overall, I want to commend you. I want to say good job. I enjoyed your speech. And you move with a purpose. Great job.
And for the last of the individual speakers' evaluations, it is Robert Kellerman. And it was for Renee Estrada, I hope. Okay. I hope it's for Renee Estrada, not an alien or
Thank you. Okay, well, it's challenging to evaluate Renee because he's such a distinguished and polished speaker, but in Toastmasters, we always want to tell people what they're doing well in a speech, not only for their part, so they can continue to do those things, but also for the less experienced Toastmasters, so they can emulate Renee and how good he is. So there were 4 things that stuck out in my mind with Renee's speech. One was the title. My experience at the spring conference tells us what he's going to be talking about. I was at a Toastmasters meeting a couple weeks ago, and someone's title I had a hard time telling what they were going to be talking about until about 2 minutes into their speech, but with Renee's speech, we didn't have that issue. Second thing with Renee, he's always very well dressed. Very important if a speaker, if you want to have credibility, studies have been done that show if you're more well dressed or better dressed, you have more credibility than a speaker who doesn't. So Renee always looks very well, especially when he's speaking for us. The third thing I liked is he had a visual aid. I always encourage speakers to have a visual aid because if you ever watch the news, you notice it's not just someone sitting there talking. They flip back to and show a video because it kind of breaks up the monotony. And same thing with a speaker. If you have a visual aid, the audience is more entertained because they have something to look at beside yourself. And Renee's a very handsome guy, but once in a while we can take a visual break and look at something else. And what's cooler than looking at a picture of a wolf? So that was also very well done. And the fourth thing he did, which is very important for a speaker, have a call to action. So Renee's call to action was go to the spring conference and the fall conference. And very important, when I joined Toastmasters, I wanted to become more comfortable speaking, and I've done that. But the reason why I keep coming back to Toastmasters, I get to meet a lot of cool people, like a wolf, and you get a lot of experience of cool things. So I posted on Facebook these pictures about the wolf, and I never thought I was going to be meeting a wolf, let alone petting one, and Toastmasters gave me that experience. So I encourage all of you, as Renee said, to attend the spring and fall conferences. Now, we also want to tell speakers things that they can do better to improve their speech. I thought you had good vocal variety. I thought it was very good. I thought it would be great vocal variety though if you had a little bit wider of a range. So again, I thought your vocal variety was very good, but I think to be great in vocal variety, you could have had a little bit bigger range. But overall, you're a very polished speaker. I want to thank you for promoting the contest. That's very good of you. And last but not least, I actually have on film the wolf kissing Renee, and I will email this to the club when I get home. Big tongue on his face. Hope his missus doesn't get jealous. And there you go. Thank you.